Hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a video on, I'm actually going to start trying to look in the camera lens as well this time rather than look in the viewfinder, which is what I usually do. I'll try and make sure I'm in like frame, but basically I wanted to talk about living in the future, living satisfied. I can't really conceptualise it all in one go, but hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm kind of on a quiet voice because it's 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday and I don't really want to wake everyone up, even though I don't really think anyone else would take that much care. But I'm a kind person, so there we go. I might have to boost the volume of this, I think. But I keep coming around to this idea of when we're pushed into societal systems like school and college and sort of like work and things like that, it can force you to prioritize that system, or you're kind of unable to explore areas of your life that don't involve that, obviously during those hours. And sometimes if you're overworked in that area, it can kind of stop you from working outside of that to kind of achieve your goals and kind of be where you want to be as a person and develop those sides of yourself that are not to do with the work, especially if you have things like childhood trauma, which I'm not going to go into, but it can also, that can be a different factor as to why you don't live in a place that is satisfied with yourself. You don't really get to work on yourself, and you tend to have this idea of future living, as in like when I was in school, literally for periods of time, like don't get me wrong, I found some of the subjects interesting, but there were definitely periods of time where I would just crave being out of school. So if I had something fun outside of school, like a party or seeing someone that I liked, or it's just something like I was enjoying at home, or I wanted to carry on doing something creative or whatever, I would have this sort of mindset of like, I can't wait to get out of school. And then it's always, and I think that's actually a healthy coping mechanism. I definitely would say in college I had anxiety when I first went back, and I had mental health problems, and when I went to a counsellor about it, they were like, you should just think, I've only got to be here for 3 hours and then I can go home. And that was actually a great coping strategy for me. So I'm not saying that like planning for the future and this is what I'm talking about, living in the future and saving for the future and thinking about how am I going to get a house if one of your goals is to get a house. Like, I think you've got to just think personally, because I definitely think people prioritise stuff differently. For me though, I'm like things like buying a house, saving up, trying to build stuff onto my CV. Obviously I like to keep those things in mind. I don't mind like building my CV. I don't want to just be out of work for ages or anything. I'm obviously running my business at the moment, but I've just got off of course. But I think this idea of living in the future can keep you from living in the present, and also stop you from being satisfied with like things that are in the present. Because I was watching a video which sort of highlighted for me that we don't have time machines in this day and age. I don't know if we will ever have a time machine, probably not. I don't think that's logistically possible. So on Earth, we're not designed to live in the future, and we're not supposed to jump to the future. So when you have these mindsets of like, I'll be happy when I have a house, when I have a job that I love, when I have a family or whatever, things like that can hold you back from living happily in the present and living like a fulfilling, satisfied life in the present. Obviously I know that everyone works differently, and sometimes people just really just enjoy like thinking about the future, and they don't really care to, you know, they might be like, I don't want false positivity in this moment. And I definitely think, without tangenting too far, happiness is not based on trying to be happy, it's about overall fulfillment in general, the rule of happiness. But it doesn't mean that in this moment you can't live a version of a satisfied, fulfilled self that you kind of aspire to in the future. Because just because now you might not have a house, and you might not have a dog, or you might not have a partner that is long term, and you might not have a baby or whatever, you can't, it doesn't mean you can't live in this present moment in a similar mindset of, you know, maybe get a pet, get a hamster, you know, maybe think about putting yourself out there in dating online or whatever, and like maybe make a room in a shared house or in a studio flat somewhere that is more of a home to you, and somewhere that you can feel at home. Do you not feel at home because you feel like you have to be on your own? Think about setting boundaries, like in a shared house or in a studio that kind of makes you feel like it's more yours, because at the end of the day, if you pay for somewhere, it's you're entitled to be there and live there and feel like home. So because like life does challenge us to live in a place that we sort of are and sort of exist, because we don't have like a time machine and stuff. And also I definitely think different personalities and different situations suit different personalities, sorry, different relationships and things like that, and definitely even due to like things like culture. For example, if you're raised like a Muslim in religion, for example, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by, you know, embarrassing a culture and literally get it all wrong, but I know sometimes you can have arranged marriages in lots of cultures. But if it's something where your family wants you to have an arranged marriage in a certain culture very young compared to other places, maybe like 18 or whatever, you know, whenever you choose to do that, and other cultures, certain Western cultures might not actually be so inclined to do that. Like they might, I know some rules of thumb in Western cultures is like have a baby by the time you're 30. Other cultures like to do it a lot sooner. Not that there's anything wrong with either one, but you know, like you do have different cultures, and not only cultures but situations, different personality types. Some people that are more introverted naturally, or sort of those farmer type people, can I say that, might like to live in sort of landy areas, whereas people that are very into the buzz and stuff might want to live in a city centre, or somewhere that's much more central to the city, or different places that like restaurants and sort of like cinema places and stuff like that. And even I feel like I've definitely been in places that were out of my comfort zone, living wise, but I did kind of learn from those experiences and like grow into the person I am now. Maybe I had like a small part of me that kind of wanted to be in that place, but I know that where I am now is much more comfortable than where I've lived in the past. For example, I lived in a really rural area, very, very quiet, very, very like out of the way of lots of people in a relationship I was in, and I definitely grew and learned over there, but I definitely also learned that I don't want to be that remote. I definitely need to be, I'm not in a city centre now, but I'm definitely not remote to where I used to be. I mean, I would say like somewhat remote, but not like really remote, so and remote enough where I'm close to things and I can get easy access bus wise because I don't drive. So and I think what I found with this is basically the idea of having self-confidence and confidence in yourself when others don't, and kind of self-validating, and like when people are like, you know, trying to sort of like, you know, people will push you in all sorts of different directions in different ways. Like, you know, people have issues, they might be jealous, they might have good intentions, and they might just have a bad advice. They'll push you and try and sort of like talk to you in all sorts of different ways. But if you have confidence in the fact that you maybe want to distance yourself from a person, you don't want to tolerate certain people, you don't want to contact certain people, you don't want them to contact you, or you do want to maintain a friendship even if that friend is maybe like, you know, out the way at the moment, to kind of keep being there for that person and sort of keeping a door open or letting them know that you're still here, kind of thing.